These are guys who are flying to places like South America and Southeast Asia and the Middle East in order to access sexual opportunities that they argue aren't available in their home country. And I'm going to respond to this phenomenon through the lens of my recent experiences spending a month in the country of Japan.
This is Psychacks, a channel that many of us know and one that I respect very much. And out of respect for the channel, I'll be using still images because the video is so fresh. But when he spoke about going to Japan and spending a month there, I instantly knew that he was going to have a new way of looking at guys dating overseas.
There was always something about the Passport Bros movement that felt a little sleazy and pathetic. This movement was for guys who were too low status or unattractive to beat out their intrasexual competition here. They couldn't get laid in the States, so they basically engage in geo-arbitrage. Only guys who couldn't get what they want from women here would need to uproot their whole lives and travel halfway around the world, which kind of made these men out to be conniving beta males.
He starts the video out by pretty much explaining the prevailing idea of Passport Bros. Guys who couldn't compete, guys who couldn't hack it, guys that aren't good enough. They're beta males that have to go overseas because they're not alpha enough to get a woman from where they are. But after a month in Japan, he had this to say.
That was my attitude before spending a month in Japan. That is no longer my attitude now. Having spent a month in that country, I think I better understand where this movement might be coming from. And I definitely don't think it's just for loser men who can't get laid in America.
He begins the video by speaking about how his eyes have been opened because he's had an opportunity to spend a month in Japan. And I'll be honest with you, Japanese people are the most hospitable people on the planet. They take great pride in it. And they take pride in their reputation around the world for being very hospitable. But that aside, one thing that I've noticed being here for as long as I have been is that many media narratives, especially in the Black community, are framed through the eyes of women. So when you hear what Passport Bros are, that framing is 9 times out of 10 coming from a certain perspective to make it look poor, because let's be honest, Passport Bros are just exposing the fact that there's new competition. But then he dropped this bomb.
From the perspective of my interests and preferences, the quality of the women in Japan was significantly superior to the quality of the women in the Bay Area. Like, not by a little, by orders of magnitude.
He begins with orders of magnitude. And one thing that you'll notice if you're my age and you reflect on modern Western culture is that basically there is no code of behavior for ladies anymore. Ladies act like men now. And so he speaks to the fact that going somewhere where he's seeing young ladies, young girls, women act like ladies is something that he just is not used to. It harkens back to when we grew up in church and you had elder ladies telling young girls, sit this way, this is how you wear a dress, this is how you should behave as a lady, and that's absent from modern Western society. He continues with the list of things that he's noticed about Japan and things that, quite frankly, may become extinct in Western culture.
The women in Japan are slender and physically healthy. These women are feminine. The women in Japan are extremely respectful. In Japan, men come first, women come second.
After bullet pointing his experiences in Japan and the things that he's noticed, he gets to this revelation, which many Passport Bros have already known.
But the important thing here is to understand that a lot of what many people believe to be the natural dynamic between men and women is really very culturally bounded and culturally specific. And to be honest, it felt good to be honored for being a man.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. It's not that we don't want to be wives anymore. Marriage was always the goal. It's that we want to be husbands. That's right. We want to be husbands. You want to know why? Because husband privileges are lit, but wife duties at present in America,
it felt good to be honored for being a man.
You just said that, oh, in America it's so hard because I got to make 6 figures and look good and have a good personality. But what you're saying is that that's too much for the women in America to ask of you, but you want that of the women in the other country. That's why you go there. because there are women here, like we talked about all night, that are good women, that get your quirky ways and all of that, but they're sixes, but they're sevens, and so they're not good enough. So you want to go somewhere else so that you can have all the things. She looks good, she has a traditional good personality and all of that. You're doing the same thing that you're getting mad at women here for wanting from you.
It felt good to be honored for being a man.
Now, let's not get it confused, because I know what you're thinking when I say we want husband privileges. That means you think that we can now have a cage fight and we're equally yoked, because that's feminism to you. But no, I mean, like, you know how nice it would be to come home to a cooked dinner and a clean house after a long day of work, hand my check off to somebody else, let them worry about the bills, tinker in the garage while the kids run amok, and, you know, my wife corrals them, spend a Sunday drinking beer and watching TV while somebody else cooks and cleans, have my socks matched, my laundry done and put away. I didn't have to do that. My coffee ready in the morning. Like, all of the above sounds amazing. Sign me up. Husband privileges are lit while wife duties are insane.
It felt good to be honored for being a man.
As someone who lives here, I can assure you that women aren't walking up to men and bending over, kissing their feet and shining their shoes. It's not like that. But you do get a break from this back and forth of the oppressive patriarchy, and men are inherently evil, men are incapable of love. And you get something that's more akin to maybe the 1950s-ish, where you have ladies walking around in ladylike clothing, not being loud and boisterous.
Married working mothers is that they have to do all of the above while still working 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week at a job they hate, with a bunch of other married men who sweetie honey baby them or until their head is ready to explode, just so they can go home at night and still have to cook, clean, and do laundry, all while maintaining a look, diet, exercise, hair, and nails, because God forbid you let yourself go for a second, then you're not really a woman, you're not feminine anymore.
And understanding a certain appreciation for men, because there are certain things that men do that they just don't want to do. And he is expressing the fact that it's very refreshing.
When I spoke with them, the feeling I got was that they felt lucky to be interacting with me.
I've been here so long that it's almost something that goes without being noticed, but generally speaking, my public interactions with ladies, be it the supermarket, the bank, at work, wherever, are generally polite and positive. And occasionally, I'll get one that sticks out as not positive, and that's the outlier. Now, if you're coming from somewhere where that becomes the norm, where you're getting certain kinds of service, or you're getting attitudes when you go to the dry cleaners, or when you go to the restaurant, or even at work.
And majority of married working mothers are citing that they are single mothers. They are single married mothers. You love throwing around the fact that 80% of divorces filed are by women. Yes, when women are leaving, it's not for infidelity or money issues or even that matter. It is simply because they need a break. They need a break. That is the primary reason that most divorce attorneys are citing that women at present are filing for divorce. They are throwing their entire marriage away just so they can get a break.
And then you go somewhere where, generally speaking, most of your interactions are polite and positive. It reshapes the way you look at not just dating, but where you want to live. And in that, he understands the motive of the Passport Bro movement, and he sums it up here.
I'm not a guy without options. I don't need to travel halfway around the world to have satisfying relationships with women. But I now understand why it's in men's best interest to seek out the most advantageous marketplaces. It's like, regardless of whether you're a novice or a master fisherman, if you want to catch a certain kind of fish, it makes sense to go where there are more of those fishes.
No, because if you're really a real fisher, then you know that when you get to wherever you're fishing and you put your reel in, you don't just get a fish in 5 minutes. You don't just get a fish in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay. It could take a minute to get a good fish. So for you to say, okay, I was here for a few minutes, I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm going to a different place to fish. You're not really, you know what I'm saying? Like, real fishermen, they make sure they have the correct bait for the fish that they're trying to catch. And they know it takes time to get a good one. So, I mean, if you're saying because you didn't get what you wanted in the, like, he's 23. Oh, you didn't get what, come on. Now you're going to fish another pond?
One pond has 150 million fish. The other pond has 4 billion fish.
As a classical scientist, I can appreciate the idea of tearing a scale, which is the process of making sure that the scale is giving you a 0 reading before you start your measurements to make sure that they are accurate. In a way, what's happening with Passport Bros is that Passport Bros are recalibrating or tearing the scale of dating in the West. For the guy that was a little bit above average or average, and he's being told that he needs to be more than what he is in order to get someone that's pretty much average on the other side, is something that is untenable. And so for many guys who are facing a bit more attitude than they'd like, or a bit more size than they would like, or things that they just would not like otherwise, they're exercising the option of opening the market up. And what you're starting to see now is that more and more people are starting to understand the basis of why guys are actually choosing to look overseas for a mate. If the prices or if the situation where you are a certain way, why wouldn't you consider going overseas or looking in a new place to find a nicer attitude, a smaller shape, someone who's kinder, someone who values family, someone who doesn't see the role of a wife as a slave? This is something that more and more people are starting to recognize. And what that means for the future, the market will determine that. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. Catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.